Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Karl Gading Sayudha, and today our group will present to you all the Organizations of American States, or in abbreviation, the OAS. From the name itself, we can see that this regional organization came from the American continent, has been around for a long time, and that is why we would like to examine and analyze why this organization exists and how it's going on for a decade. So my name is Karl Gading Sayudha. As I mentioned before, I will be focused on the introductions and the history of OAS, and then continue with my friend Mohamad Dafiryan that will talk about the structure of OAS. Afterwards, it will be continued again by my another friend Fitra Ariesta Wismaningrum. She will be the one that will take care of the strategic partnership and the development of OAS, which in the end, I again will explain to you about the strength and weakness, which then conclude in the conclusion. So that's all. Let's just continue with the video. Bye. Now, first thing first. In order to explain a little bit further, we need to create our basis first. So that is why our group has decided to use neoliberal institutionalism as our main theory to explain the organization of American states. Why we use this theory? Because we believe that it's concentrated on the ways in which strategic interaction may lead to the emergence of cooperation in given area of international relations. That is why, because OAS stands with the cooperation between the regional states in the specific area, which is the American states. So the relation with the Americans, the United States, Cuba, Canada, Mexico, and every other country that participate in this regional organization, it will be much easier for us to explain a little bit further, because it's institution. This is the institution that exists, and it creates the interaction, how the interaction goes, and why we can see that this interaction can help shape the future of this American organization of American states. Now come to the sections of the history of organization of American states. In this specific section, there will be 6 main years that you need to keep in mind. It started from 1826 to 1994. So please keep in mind. And now let's just continue to the first year, which is in 1826. So what's happened in 1826? Well, ladies and gentlemen, in 1826, we can see that there is a very famous Congress called the Congress of Panama, convened by Simon Bolivar. In this Congress of Panama, many existing American states back then come together in Panama to agree that in the future we need to create an institution, a regional institution, to prevent a future war and of course enhancing cooperation. But since in 1826, nothing happened in the future. Nothing happened in the near future. That's the problem. Things and war keep happening between the American states back then. So we can say that's it was a failure. But then in 1889 to 1890s, the first International Conference of American States was conducted in Washington, D.C. So again, all existing American states who are already independents come to the United States, sit together, and they created the framework of the future the future organization of American states. So in 1890s, in 1889 to 1890, 1 year, they tried to create a framework for the better creating a framework for a regional institution for the betterment of the American states. And in 1890s, finally, the first Pan-American Union, we can say as the seat of the Organization of American States, was created. So Pan-American Union become the first step of the first baby step of the OAS. Pan-American Union created the many existing treaties to ensure that peace can be restored in American states, and of course enhancing economic cooperation with each other, and of course the human rights as well. And then fast forward to 1948, after the end of World War II, once again they come together in Bogota, in Colombia, They signed the Treaty of Bogota, where there, in that place, United States and another 21 founding members signed and agree to create the organizations of American states. So from these signatories, or from this moment, there will be no more Pan-American Union. It's only the Organization of American States, because all of these countries agree to have this organization. And then in 1970, the creations of the OAS General Assembly, because the United States as the promoter of this OAS General Assembly sees that American continent needs something similar like the United Nations. So that is why it's better to create a place that everyone can speak, everyone can state their opinion, and that is why the OAS General Assembly was created in 1970. This is a big moment for the Organization of American States. And then in 1994, the last year, is the summits of the heads of state and of government of the Americas was being conducted to sustain the OAS. So yeah, in 1970s to 1994, some other countries of the Organization of American States questions the existing of their question their participation in the Organization of American States. So that is why they're trying to reaffirm this statement. So in 1994, they come again together, sit and discuss the future of the OAS, and then they agree that the OAS must keep strong, stay strong for the betterment of the American continent. So that's a good thing, of course, in 1994. So yeah, from 1826, the roadway from a simple Congress in Panama, a small country in Panama, and now in 1994, they affirm that the Organization of American States must uphold very strong thing, which is the cooperations of all American states that so in order to create peace and prosperity together. And then afterwards, now we will come to the main purpose of OAS. So what exactly OAS stands for? So there will be 5 main things that OAS take care, which is the first one is of course promoting democracy. Second, defending human rights. Third, ensuring a multidimensional approach to security. Fourth, fostering integral development and prosperity. And the fifth, supporting inter-American legal cooperation. So that's the 5 main purpose of the OAS. From promoting democracy, very simple. As like any other countries in the world, they would like to see all American states have a democracy, so the people decide what the government should do, and it's for the prosperity of the people and the country. And then defending human rights without questions. Human rights must be upheld like the UN Charter itself. So that is why UN very observe the OAS as this regional organization try to uphold the human rights as it finds. And of course, the ensuring a multidimensional approach to security, protecting from many other places from any other threat. For example, drug wars, illegal trafficking, and then human rights abuse, anything, even for a security between states. It is ensuring every dimensional that exists in security. And then fostering integral development and prosperity, of course, to creating a strong prosperity between all American states who participate in this organization. And last but not least, supporting inter-American legal cooperation. Legal as the foundation of most countries in the world. Legality must be upheld as well, not just human rights but legal. With legal, you can uphold many things, and to uphold a strong mechanisms and a strong cooperations with each other.
My name is Mohamad Dafiryan. I'm from Defense 2 of your class Regional Studies. Today I will present about the structure of Organization of American States. I will explain about the structure and maybe some basic information as well as their function itself. Okay, so now I will be beginning about the structure. As you can see, with the structure of membership, OAS aims to be dynamic. So as you can see here, it consists of 3 main bodies: the General Secretariat with 6 sub-branches, which I will explain later, the committee, which there is 4, and also 3 commission, which I will of course explain later. Now we'll begin to the first part. Introduction to the respective committee. What exactly are they? What do they want to do? And therefore, this is what I begin first, the General Secretariat. The first one, it is a platform for decision making as well as administrative backbone. It allows action and cooperation to be done with a minimum vote of 2/3 of the members. So this is exactly like if you want to make a solution, something, cooperation in the General Secretariat, you must have at least a vote of 2/3 of the member itself, which is quite big, and it needs to have a very big thing. And the second is budgeting. Of course, everything needs to have money. If you don't have any money for the programs, you of course cannot do anything. Therefore, the OAS have budgeting not only for its program, but also for our programs that may be in the states, for example. Okay, now we go into the third function, which is the political monitoring. Political monitoring is basically like this. Imagine there's an election, say in America or Canada. However, of course, you need to have to ensure that it is neutral. So OAS can send its representative or other states' representative to ensure the fact that the election is neutral, for example. Also, it can be some kind of a middleman. If like they have a political conflict, for example, then they can ensure that they can make the conflict equal by giving states voices to make the conflict done, for example. Also, coalition of laws, as this there are many international law, international agreement. OAS can ensure the fact that states will not be overwhelmed by the fact that the conflict or the laws that is being enacted by OAS will be implemented to domestically. And then the last thing is integral development. So basically it's like this, because OAS is also for states of America, not only for the states but also for the people. OAS can ensure via its function to ensure that the people will gain economic things, for example, technological impact, as this is a very important thing. Next one, I'll go to the committees. The committees is more structured. As you can see here, there are 4 main committees: political and judicial affairs, budget and admin affairs, hemispheric security, management and civil participation. Of course, it all connects together. As you can see, aside from political and judicial, mainly the committee focuses on applying various international law and convention that has been done to ensure the smooth transition onto the respective countries. So again, this is quite similar. However, it focuses more on domestically, it focuses more on cooperation, it focuses more on international law and also the situation itself, as this is more of a niche thing. And then the second thing is management and civil participation. This committee focuses on ensuring that people will accept the changes done by OAS as well as the cooperation that could be impacted. So of course, say like this, you make an agreement in OAS about environmental changes. Of course, the people need to be accepted, so the company need to help, and therefore, via their help, via their coordination with the states, the company will of course work together. We try to meet a middle ground to see if there are any problem. The third one is hemispheric security. It is defined as a region which OAS is at, and therefore focus on defense cooperation, for example, to have a cross-border cooperation and fight terrorism. So again, this is more of defense thing. So with so many nations in the OAS, they have to work together because of course there are many issues. Let's say drug cartel. Let's say there's a drug cartel in the United States. The United States can ask for other neighboring country in OAS to help them, perhaps in terms of advice, in terms of military power, for example. But mainly they can work together. This is what exactly is the hemispheric security gift. And then the last one is budget and administrative affairs. So again, this is quite similar. However, with the previous one, the budget and administrative affairs have the allocation of respective program. Let's say you want to give economic changes in technological for $100,000. Is this the budget efficient? Is budget feasible? Then it is up to the committee of budget and administrative affairs to help the people and the OAS itself. And lastly, I will talk about the commission. The commission focuses on issues that has not been discussed, mainly sector of human rights as well as technological aspect. So as you can see, there are 3 main commission. As you can see, women rights, human rights, as well as self-communication. Of course, all of these are very important. As you can see, women rights, for example, there has been increasing of women rights. They need to be equal. Human rights, the fact that people have to work together, the fact that we must respect each other, and of course self-communication. So basically, this increase in cooperation to ensure the fact that there will be no violation. For example, there will be, for example, cooperation in terms of telecommunication. Let's say AT&T from America wants to expand to Latin America. Then how can it be so? It can be discussed in the OAS, and they can try to make an agreement. Women's rights, for example, they can cooperate together in terms of enacting women's rights, in terms of enacting human rights. So of course, this is a very important thing, and this gives the function of OAS to ensure that these things will be available. So lastly, my last slide, this is about the process itself. It is from the Secretariat, Committees of OAS, and Commission of OAS. So these big 3 interloop each other to ensure that OAS will be fine, will be work together, will be unite despite all the diversity, for example. So as you can see, the General Secretariat is the main body, and the Committee of OAS and go to the Commission of OAS. This has to be work together because they have their respective function. They have their things to do. They have to be enabled. They have to work together. And of course, they all can work together. Let's say from the General Secretariat, for example, first about security, and then go to Committee of OAS, and for example, the possible violation of human rights. So as you can see, this is a very, very important thing, and OAS has many disposal at its tools, so it can do many, many things. So therefore, I believe that OAS has many, many potential, and with we are recognized as a regional body, it could be hoped that they will be better. So therefore, this is my presentation. Thank you very much.
Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Fitra and I'll be presenting on the strategic partnerships and the development of OAS. Okay, so first of all, who is the current Secretary General of OAS? Well, the current Secretary General is Luis Almagro. He was elected as the Secretary General in March 2015. And I did mention regarding the strategic partnerships. So, the OAS have strategic partnerships with many institutions and many platforms, but we're just gonna mention three, which is the highlight programs and the programs that has most intense time frame. So first of all, there's the Joint Summit Working Group. So the Joint Summit Working Group is that the one that coordinates the institutions which have partnership with the OAS also. So what is the Joint Summit? The Joint Summit provides some sort of platform and initiatives for these institutions to work together in making the programs that revolves around development and also around business. Besides providing a platform for these institutions to cooperate, they also provide technical guidance to countries in which they try to identify and negotiate the issues in which hamper the development and also the economics that is being addressed within the summit process. Besides the Joint Summit Working Group, they also have another institution in which They also have another partner in which called Young America's Business Trust. So what is the Young America's Business Trust? Or should we call YABT? So YABT provides some sort of support towards development but centers around youth as the agent of change. In this way, that they are trying to develop programs in which could support all youth to excel in business, in competitions, and also in leadership. Okay, and then the last but not least, there are the Pan-American Development Foundation. So, what are the jobs of Pan-American Development Foundation? So, they have the function to assist the vulnerable or the excluded people from the communities within the America or every states in Americas. So what are exactly the programs that they're trying to implement? They're trying to focus on displaced or the discriminized or the marginalized society within each community. Mostly they targeted, software would have targeted is mostly that they're focused around indigenous people. So we've known what are the partnerships that they're trying to implement. But what are the programs within these partnerships? So the Joint Summit Working Group provides some sort of initiatives to be implemented within each partners, within each institutions that they are cooperating with. So besides providing initiatives, they also provide ministerial meetings among these institutions that they have partnership with in negotiating or also discussing regarding a certain issue within development or business. In April 2019, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, or as we all know as OECD, joined the Joint Summit Working Group. Now we understand So in a nutshell, Joint Summit Working Group provides initiatives and also provide a platform in which the institutions that they have partnership with would negotiate or would conduct ministerial meetings. And also, who are the institutional partners of the Joint Summit Working Group? Well, there are 13, but I'm gonna mention a few. So, first, there are the Inter-American Development Bank, and also there's the Central American Bank for Economic Integration. There's also the Caribbean Development Bank, and as previously stated, now in April 2019, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development joined the Joint Summit. We've understand who are the institutional partners of the Joint Summit Working Group. Now let's continue to the Young America's Business Trust. So, the Young America's Business Trust, or should we say YIBT, they conduct several programs, in which there are 3. They conduct programs in which supporting the development of youth through competitions, through business activities, or some sort of programs or platforms to conduct business skills or to teach business skills for a group of youth. And also, they provide a leadership enhancement programs. So, first of all, there are competitions. Among them, there are the Eco Challenge Sustainability Awards, and there are the Startup Challenge. Besides competitions, they also conduct platform to teach business skills towards youth. So, these platforms are, firstly, there are the business labs, and there are the next links. We've understand and we've known what are the programs for competition and also for the business skills. And lastly, there are leadership. So, they also provide some sort of leadership program towards the youth that are interested in learning business or leadership or focusing on the development on certain area. So, these leadership programs are called, firstly, the Young Americas, and they're also the leadership links. So, we understand what are the programs that YIBT have already implemented. Lastly, there are the Pan-American Development Foundation. So, the Pan-American Development Foundation focuses its programs on development projects in which cater the needs of indigenous people, the youth, women's rights, and also environmental programs. Well, I wouldn't say environmental programs, but there are some projects in which they're trying to cater environmental needs or trying to solve the environmental issues around certain indigenous areas or areas that are prone to environmental challenges or some sort of environmental degradation. That is all. Thank you.
Well, now come to me again to the strength and weakness of the American organization states. So let's come to the first one, which is the strength. So the strength, we have 2 main points, which is the first one, defender of democracy in the American continent, and the second one is the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights played an important role in uncovering rights abuse committed during several of the region's military dictatorships. So yeah, so let's go on to the first one, which is the defender of democracy in the American continent. As I mentioned you before, in the main purpose of OAS, preserving and protecting democracies. So that's what they're doing. They're trying to protect democracy in America, in the American continent. So by protecting democracy means they're protecting the civil rights, they're protecting the human rights, they're protecting every right of the country that exists in the American continent. So as the OAS, you can see that you have the United States, you have Canada, you have Mexico, and you have other countries like Cuba, Panama, Haiti. Every country that participates in OAS, all of them trying to defend every single inch of democracy within their region. So that is very, very a strong point for the OAS, as this organization really uphold democracy. And then the second one is the Inter-American Commissions on Human Rights. Of course, within the OAS, they have another body called the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights. So their purpose is, of course, to observe and then questions the observe and then try to report any violation of human rights that have been conducted within the American continent or within the region itself. So by having this special commission within the OAS, it meant that human rights is in order, as this special commission observe and report any kind of human rights violation conducted by many of American states back then and now as well. So that is why if there, for example, another single country tried to well, we can say as violates human rights, and the commission will report to the General Assembly and condemn this kind of action and then force them to not to do it again and uphold the human rights as they should be, as like they defend the democracy. That's the strength. Now come to the weakness. Same like the strength, we have two main points. The first one is the polarized politics creates a difficulty to establish quick and decisive action. The second one is the reluctance to empower independent monitoring agencies. As well as you can see, OAS is not all perfect, okay? Although there's United States in there as the prominent actors, no. OAS is not that perfect because they also have a weakness. For example, the first one is polarized politics. So again, in a regional, very, very diverse, like in the American continent, politics that happen in America, in United States, in Canada, usually very different what's happened in downward or in the South America. So that is why, and of course in the Latin America as well. So these differences or polarized politics created a problem and created a gap where it leads to an incapability for this organization to create quick and decisive actions. So that is why, for example, if there's a problem within the region and when they want to help, they have the Pacta Sunt Servanda in a goodwill to help, but then because of the polarized politics, it's very hard for them to decisively agree upon something. So this is the weakness, the first weakness. And then the second weakness is the reluctance to empower independent monitoring agencies. So for example, when there's an elections, indeed the commission of the monitoring system within the OAS was was used as they observe and then report about any, for example, election in any existing parties within the organization or in the regional organization. But then some other countries do not want to use this independent monitoring system to help them observe. So of course the US already have their own bodies to observe, but then that's okay, that's good. But the OAS members very reluctant to have another external or independent parties, agencies to observe their own election. For example, the OAS observe team when it comes to the election in Bolivia, they said that President Morales back then, who now being coup d'etat by some of his people and now being outcast to Mexico, as you can see, according to the recent election, the US said there's no problem, but according to another independent monitoring agency, there's a problem. Morales is supposed to be one with absolute win, but then OAS says otherwise. So this is creating a problem. The reluctance of the OAS itself as a whole and certain countries within this organization reluctant to participate any independent monitoring agencies create this incapability or problematic things within the organization. So it become a weakness, a very, very strong weakness for the Organization of American States. So now from all of that, from all of this explanation from my friend, from me, we can see that we can conclude that the existence of Organization of American States is just like any other organization in the world, a regional organization to be precise. So they have their own weakness, they have their own strength, and also they have their own structure, their development, and their history. So we can see that from using the theory of the liberal institutionalism, neoliberal institutionalism, we can see that the importance of cooperation exists within the OAS. However, some problematic, of course, exists within this regional organization. So we can say that OAS is a good organization, but bad at the same time because they have a reluctance to participate, and some of them just too polarized. But that's okay, as long in the future they can manage, they create an exclusive mechanism for this problem. In the future, they can have a better American future, American continent future. So that's all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope we'll see you again in the next video or in the future. Thank you very much. Спасибо большое. До свидания.